everyone, and thank you so much for joining us for today's Global Employability Expert Series. My name is Jessica Rakowski, and I am a University Partnerships Manager at Virtual Internships. I'm really excited to introduce today's presenter. We have John Butterworth, who is the SEO and Website Manager at Virtual Internships, who will be sharing some of his best tips for self-branding and how to get your LinkedIn profile noticed by the right people. So without further ado, I will hand it over to John.
Hi everyone. Really excited to speak to you today about self-branding and getting your LinkedIn profile in front of the people who matter. As Jesse said, I'm John Butterworth. I'm the SEO and Website Manager at Virtual Internships. And yeah, I'm excited to speak to you today. A bit of background on me. I've been working in digital marketing for the last 5 years now, specializing in SEO and brand building. I've had quite a varied career in a short time, to be honest. I've worked for tech startups, I've worked for niche engineering firms, and now I find myself working in international education services again, which is something that I'm really passionate about. It's been exciting being a part of VI and watching it grow like it has. So that's me. There's my LinkedIn. I use my profile a lot throughout this presentation, for example, so I can say I practice what I preach. Please feel free to take a look through it and add me. And there's my email address. If you have any questions whatsoever that you don't have a chance to ask in the Q&A at the end, please send me an email. I'll be more than happy to help any of you out and give you some tips when needed. Okay, so let's get started. If you're not using LinkedIn, then my first question for you is why not? You're absolutely missing a trick. When used correctly, it has the potential to give your career prospects a serious boost. Let me give you some quick stats on LinkedIn. LinkedIn has 690 million users worldwide. And the crazy thing is, it's still growing. In 2019, LinkedIn received 30 billion sessions from its members, a 27% increase from the year before. If you want to know how much LinkedIn is making, 2020 saw revenues of 6.8 billion, which are fantastic numbers for any online business, to be honest. Like, I won't turn my nose up at $6.8 billion. But how does this help you? And those are the bullets I've listed on the slide, to be honest. Finding job opportunities in your career field. Chances are that any contact in any profession you could possibly imagine is using LinkedIn, and that has the benefits for you to exploit. It's the #1 tool used by recruiters, so if you're looking for a job, even if it's in a really, really small area, in a niche, which you can imagine doesn't drive a lot of traffic, the hiring manager would turn to LinkedIn. That's where they're looking for this role. So by not having your profile, you're really limiting your own job opportunities. Network and manage relationship with your professional contacts is a key point. I've managed to connect with people on LinkedIn that I never imagined. Factory owners from all over the world are people that I'd never expect to be connected with, but through the internet especially and through the power of LinkedIn, we're now connected and I can see all their news straight to my newsfeed, which is definitely a key advantage for most industries that you'd work in. But the last point is why we're here today. And LinkedIn gives you the power to build a personal brand. Now, before we get into how to build a personal brand on LinkedIn, the first question you need to ask yourself is, what do you want your personal brand to be connected with? Now, this isn't really a question that I can answer for you, truth be told. But there's two key components to a personal brand that you need to set in stone before we can really optimize a LinkedIn profile for them. Now, I'll show you some examples on the next slide of how to build a personal brand, but the key core aspect to everyone is a deep social connection with something. And when I say something, it can literally be anything. A principle, an idea, a product, sport, an industry, literally anything. But the key of your personal brand is to establish yourself as an expert on whatever you choose. Now, we'll dive into that in some more detail in a second. The second key aspect of a personal brand is one that you kind of have more control over, and that is an image or perception of the person behind the brand. With most personal brands, without even meeting the person in real life, you know their personality beforehand, their principles, how would they react to certain things. They're almost like a friend you haven't met yet. And again, I'll dive into this when I show you the slides next. But going back to focusing on the connection aspect of your personal brand, whatever you choose, have this in the back of your mind throughout this presentation. It'll come in much handier for you when you're editing your LinkedIn profile at the end, as it'll be able to keep your content and information relevant. Whenever you want to write something, think back to what your personal brand stands for, and it will keep your content much more lean and focused. If you're struggling to think of what your brand topic would be, that's okay. You've got plenty of time to think. No one's saying that you have to do this today. If you need a little tip to focus your content, I know it's a cliche, but think about your 5-year plan. Where do you see yourself at the end of the 5 years? What have you accomplished? What would your LinkedIn profile look like in 5 years? Once you have that figured out, you can take those steps to building towards that profile today. If you've already taken a lot of the steps and you have some of the accomplishments, add them to your profile. If not, put a placeholder in there. Think about where they fit in, and then you can go on to optimize at a later date. Okay, so moving on. Here are the examples of personal brands that I promised you a moment ago. Love them or hate them, you know who they are and what they stand for. Like, to prove their brand association, here's a quick exercise. Without even thinking about it, just take a split 5 seconds and blurt out your first thoughts on each of these people. I mean, you've got Elon, tech billionaire, visionary, innovative, inventor. You've got Roger, tennis, champion, Wimbledon, pristine sportsman, and Greta, climate activist, very young, protester, force for change. My point is, you know their brand association, they're defined by it. I'll give you the answers in the bullets: tech, tennis, environmental. This is the idea that they've kind of bonded their whole personas around. They're all successful and they've all established themselves as experts in the field. You want to hear what they have to say on their topics, and that's an important component of a personal brand. It's when you know you've succeeded in building one, when people actually want to hear your opinion on a subject and even sort it out. And to highlight it, it's not interchangeable. Like, you wouldn't ask Greta about tennis and you wouldn't ask Roger about climate change, even though I bet they both have strong opinions of them. So I hope that goes further into explaining a personal brand. Right. So moving on from there, it's time to integrate these ideas into your LinkedIn profile. Now, these are the 5 tips I'd give to get more out of your LinkedIn and really turn LinkedIn into your biggest brand advocacy tool. Point 1, optimize your keywords. Point 2, make your tagline stand out. Point 3, share your opinions and start conversations. Point 4, include visual and work examples on your profile. And point 5, collect recommendations. Adding these components to your profile will supercharge it, plain and simple. These tips will help you to get your brand message out there, validate your claims, and reaffirm your brand's credentials as expert opinions. And finally, get your profile viewed by key players and people that matter in your industry. Getting profile views is the quickest and easiest way to get your brand message out there and really build connections with the people who matter, the people that can give you the career boost that you're looking for and connect you with exciting job opportunities. So let me break them down in more detail for you, starting with optimizing your profile for industry keywords. Now, I won't lie to you, I love keywords. As an SEO specialist, keywords are my absolute bread and butter. What are keywords, you ask? Well, in the simplest form, keywords are a string of words used to find content, or in this case, profiles for LinkedIn, when placed into a search bar or a search function. Take my profile, for example. I give you my tagline there, my About Us section, and my current job. The very first word you'll see beneath my name is digital marketing specialist. When people search for digital marketing specialist, my profile will be one of the ones returned. And that's what I want. Now, it's a simplification for sure, but that is the core principle to LinkedIn's algorithm. If your keyword is found in a profile and somebody searches for it, then your profile is going to be returned. So with that logic, the more keywords you include in your profile equal the more searches you're going to be finding yourself in. More searches means more brand exposure, more brand exposure means more connections, and more connections on LinkedIn means more career opportunities. So here's what you should do. Don't limit yourself. Include as many keywords as you can find. Take about 5, 10, 15 minutes and just jot down every phrase you'd like your profile to be connected with and be returned in searches. And then make sure they're in your profile. I mean, look at my tagline: digital marketing specialist, growth hacker, SEO expert, content creator. All things that I'm very proud to have done in my career, and all things that I want people who are searching for those things to find me, because I have confidence in my own ability to deliver those. LinkedIn's algorithm scans the whole page. So like I said, take advantage. You can edit your tagline, about us, summary, and your work experience. Fill these sections with all the keywords that are related to people in your industry and skills that you have ability in yourself to complete. But one word of caution, don't just keyword stuff. Include the keywords and sentences that make sense, otherwise your profile will just look a bit strange. Your tagline is okay, but don't try to take advantage of this because the algorithm's too smart. So by that, I mean, don't just write the words, include them in sentences, make them look organic, because you want people to land in your profile and have a great experience. They won't if it looks like you're just trying to take advantage of the algorithm. So this tip is mostly built around attracting people to your page. The next tips as we progress are going to be about establishing your brand. But for now, let's focus on attracting people to the page, because the second tip is much in the same mindset as that. And that would be making your tagline stand out. Like I said, as we've just touched about, getting people on your page is the best way to build exposure to your personal brand. The principle of optimizing your tagline is kind of a LinkedIn hack, in all honesty. You're trying to steal clicks from the profiles that appear above yours in search results. It's also a great way to show a bit of personality when quite often in these pages, they're very lacking. LinkedIn can be a bit dour in the fact that most people are trying so hard to focus on professionalism that they do compromise on the personality and having a bit of fun. And my advice to you is not fall into the same trap. Take a look at the example on the left, to be honest. This is a quick search that I ran for marketing a couple of days ago. I know which profile I want to click on. Out of all those, I'd much rather work with number 3, chat with them and see what they're about, because they've gone further. They've taken the principle of fitting in the keywords they want to be found for: CMO, Chief Marketing Officer, Marketing Director, but they've managed to make their profile eye-catching on what is otherwise quite a text-based, heavy, not much to look at search page. So what I'm trying to say is, a standard tagline in LinkedIn is your job title plus your company name. It's the LinkedIn default. Most people won't even think to change it. but they should. You're not constrained to that format. Mix it up, write something eye-catching. Like I said, the key goal of this exercise is to make people want to click on your page to deliver your message. They will do that in these search results if you give them a reason to, and that reason can be as simple as just making your profile look more eye-catching. Optimizing your tagline gives you the excellent opportunity to steal clicks from people above you. You don't need to be in the #1 position to have your profile clicked on the search I'm showing you on screen. So mix it up, make your title interesting. You can do that in quite a few ways. You can speak to the reader directly. I mean, if you give them a reason to click on your profile, they mostly will. But use emojis, use numbers, use symbols, use hashtags if you need to. Anything you can think of to make your tagline distinctive. Give the searcher a reason to choose your profile, and that'll get you in front of more people in your industry that matter. Moving on. So now we're really divulging away from drawing people to your profile to establishing yourself as an industry expert, which, as we were chatting about, is kind of the key to establishing a personal brand. Now, like I said, think back to Elon, Roger, and Greta. They're experts and you want to hear their opinions, right? Well, for you to start building your own brand, you need to share your opinions. It's simple as that. If you keep quiet, how are people going to know what you're about, what you're interested in, and your great ideas? Breaking news, industry trends, and your own personal experience and interactions with your topic of choice are excellent places to start. By far, though, if you're looking to quickly establish yourself as a brand expert, the quickest way to do that is to provide value to others. You can do this by educating or even advising on certain topics. And that is the quickest way to build a loyal following. So this example on the left that I've given you is from Brian Dean. Easily one of the marketers I admire the most, and I follow his content religiously. I mean, here he's asking the age-old question of TikTok versus House Party, and I know which video platform I prefer. But the main reason that I follow him is because they often share their experience and marketing ideas, what they've tried, whether it was successful or not, and what they do differently. Brian Dean isn't worried about keeping his work, his best practices a secret. He realizes that by giving away valuable content, he'll build a brand following and he'll be thought of as the marketing expert. And that provides more value to his personal brand and his business than simply keeping his opinions and his content under lock and key. Because let's be honest, the next time you need a marketing consultant, who are you going to turn to? The guy who has 10 followers on LinkedIn, only shares updates about football, or Brian Dean, the person that's giving you information on topics you haven't even thought about, who knows strategies that are going to grow your business because he's tried them himself. Don't be scared to share your failures. You can learn so much more in failure than what you often can in success. And learning from those experiences is what helps to establish authority on a subject. It's how you can establish yourself as an expert. You learn by doing, you learn by trying, you learn by succeeding, and you learn by failing. Once you have kind of all those core components under your pocket, then you can give that advice to others. And that's what we're doing here. So when providing value, and if you're not sure what to post, you can just draw on personal experience. It's always a good place. Chances are you've tried something in your own personal career that somebody else hasn't. And by educating them in your experiences, you're providing value to that person. So don't be scared to share your opinions. You can do it adding connections and then just posting in your timeline. You can write articles, and LinkedIn is famous for its groups features. There's people on there that have groups, everything you could possibly imagine for every sector, and they're often divided by country. So make sure that you're engaging with these groups and starting the conversation. Groups are a safe space. People in there are interested in the content, so as long as it's relevant, I don't see there being any problems. Okay. So now, including visuals and work examples in your profile. This point combines elements of the last two, namely making your profile eye-catching, like your tagline, and attracting people to it. And the second point, starting conversations and providing value to your followers. Including visuals and examples of your best work on your profile is an excellent way to back up your claims and cement yourself as an industry expert. It's literally saying, take a look at what I can do. I've been there, I've done it, here it is. You can include snippets of your work kind of throughout your profile. LinkedIn has included a new feature called featured work, funnily enough, right underneath your About Us page, and it is solely there to showcase pieces of work you're proud of. The example that I've given you on the left is in the work experience section, and this is where you list your career progression and your CV accomplishments to date. Underneath that, you have the option to include video files, YouTube, PDF, or Word documents. LinkedIn supports as many files as you can think of, so try and squeeze in there as much work as what you can. Not many profiles are doing this, surprisingly, so it's an easy way to stand out from the crowd. If you're thinking right now, oh, I don't know what to include, that's okay. If you work for clients and you kind of have confidential information, then I'm telling you now, please don't include that, it will only lead to headaches. But if you've written something to share, whether it be like a blog article, if you're a graphic designer, share some of your work. If you've written an ebook, please share that. Infographics, anything that you've created is fair game. Even videos. Don't be afraid to share work from your university projects. A great tip that I could give you that I saw recently was a company and some marketers who were working on a brand launch or a new product, and they included lots of photos that they'd taken from their brainstorming sessions, and I'm talking the wall looked crazy with post-it notes and strings attached to their plan. And they uploaded a small album of that to cement their product launch, and I thought that was fantastic content. It's basically showing we've worked hard on this, here we are doing it, without actually giving away any of the core information on what they've done. So don't be scared to document what you're working on. Including supporting materials throughout your profile is especially useful for hiring managers and recruiters, as you're providing them evidence to support your claims. It gives them more confidence in your ability to possibly do the job if you were to be hired or interviewed. If you're using LinkedIn to find job opportunities, don't pass this up. It's low-hanging fruit, it's an easy win. Take a moment, think about what you can include in your profile, and then do it. This next point is much more on the same scale. It's also another total no-brainer. It's the perfect way to endorse your skills because the content is written by a third party. Endorsements from others is one of the easiest ways to inspire confidence in your brand. Again, they're a hiring manager's dream as they inspire faith in your personal brand's ability. Make it your mission to collect recommendations from people you've collaborated with. I mean, if you're enrolled in the virtual internships program, reach out to your host company supervisor and your internship coach. They'd be great additions and would be more than happy to write you a quick recommendation. Don't be afraid to reach out with anyone you've collaborated with and ask them to endorse your profile. The recommendation section is one of the most eye-catching. I'm drawn to it whenever I look at somebody's profile. because not only does it test for their work ethic, it's their character. And if you're looking to build connections and you're looking to collaborate on projects, you want to choose the person who you know you're most compatible with, the person that looks great to work with. Recommendations inspires that confidence. Don't be scared to reach out to people and ask them to build your profile. It only takes 5 minutes, it doesn't take long, and it will go a long way to boosting your own profile and establishing your brand as one people can trust. Okay, so those are my top 5 tips to getting your profile out there, building your brand, and inspiring confidence in others. So how to tell if it's working is what this next slide about. How to tell if your profile is gaining traction, and how to tell if it's being successful. Well, LinkedIn sends you a weekly report each Friday breaking down your search performance. It'll tell you where the company your searchers work for, which keywords they're using to find your profile, and also their job titles. So questions you need to be asking yourself and examining in this report: are these the people you want finding you, those searchers and their job titles? And are the keywords they're using to find your profile ones you've optimized for? If you're getting people who are not in your network, then chances are you're optimizing for some keywords that aren't useful to your industry. So change it up. Think about it, do some more research. The key to all the tips that I've given you throughout this presentation, chances are you're going to have to continuously A/B test them to find the best result. It's a process. One takeaway from this presentation is please implement what I've told you to, but always refine it. You can always improve on what you've done before, and constantly tweaking your content will give you better results in the future. Third question to ask yourself: are you making connections with other industry professionals? If your goal is to connect with hiring managers or thought leaders, are you adding your profile? Are you adding their profile? Simply engaging with them and starting the conversation personally is as good as a brand advocacy tool as you can get. It shows confidence in your ability, and that can often lead to a healthy partnership. The last point I've made to measure success: what engagement are you getting your posts? I'm talking comments in groups, I'm talking likes. This is the hardest one to gain traction on, to be honest. It can be tough and it can be time consuming. If you're putting out updates and content at the start, please don't be discouraged if it's not getting much interaction. It's early days and it'll come with time. Hang in there. Nobody starts by writing an amazing piece of content and immediately it's viral. Everyone's telling you how fantastic you are. It simply doesn't happen. Focus on building your connections first and generating that traction in your newsfeed. If you don't actually have the core people there who you want to interact with your post, then they're not going to. They won't be able to find it. So don't be discouraged if your posts aren't gaining the traction that you want at first. It'll come. Focus on building your connections and getting your profile in front of those people, then building your brand, if that makes sense. That's where the success lies, and that's a tried and tested method. Okay. This brings us to the Q&A. Thank you all for listening. If you're still with us, I applaud you. Thank you very much for listening to me. It's been great chatting to you. And I hope that you'll get a lot of value from these tips. It's an easy way to boost your career opportunities, to get your profile in front of more people. And if you implement these, I guarantee you'll start to see the benefits pretty quickly in your search report. And yeah, that brings us to the Q&A. Please, if you'd like me to elaborate on anything, go ahead and ask.
Hi, John. So thank you again so much. All your tips were incredibly insightful and helpful. I know I'm going to take your advice on a few of those points, and it was definitely relevant to all of our interns who are at such a pivotal point in their education and early career. So thank you for sharing all of that. We do so far have one really great question asking how our interns can include this internship experience on their LinkedIn profiles, and more specifically asking whether or not they should include the host company's actual name on their LinkedIn profile under the experience.
Oh, that's a great question. I would focus on the host company. You want to include the host company in your work experience, and you want to talk about the projects that you've worked on for that host company in the text section beneath it. While please feel free to mention virtual internships and what you've done with us, but we're the facilitator to your internship. We've provided you with the placement in the host company. The host company works in the field to establish a brand association in your personal brand. So including the host company in your profile will generate you much more exposure and work to validate your claims that you've worked in that industry much more than adding virtual internships will. So include your host company, your job title, the projects that you've worked on in your profile summary, and mention as well that it was the virtual internships that you've studied. Virtual internships in the current climate show initiative to find opportunities when a lot of other companies are suffering. So I would be giving extra points when I'm recruiting to people who have pursued virtual opportunities right now. So include that in your profile too. But summarize the host company over VI, definitely.
Great. And so the next question we have here, I think, is something that a lot of students ask. But if their current internship or what their prior internship experience is in is not necessarily what their future dream job is, how can students still talk about, the skills that they've learned and incorporate that into their self-branding?
So this is a point that I tried to make early on. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? What skills will you need to achieve that position? And then pick the skills that you've learned from your internship, but tailor them to that job. So I understand that you might not be working in your dream position right now, and the career where you see yourself in 5 years could be totally different, but that doesn't mean that you haven't learned the basic skills that you need right now to succeed in that industry. So when you're creating your profile, write with the job you want in 5 years in mind. Don't try to optimize for where you are currently. Focus on the skills that you have that will benefit you in that job in 5 years' time. That's the best advice that I would give. You'll have information and skills that will help you then, now. So include them in your profile, even if it looks slightly more out of place than other key accomplishments you have in your current industry.
All right, and so we have a next question here. It's a bit of a specific question, but I think you can answer it in a more broad terms. So, for example, someone who is a civil engineer, which is a very broad specialization, and I'm sure this applies to other career paths as well, but how are our interns able to kind of narrow down and find proper keywords that are specifically relevant to maybe their specific track that they're on?
So one thing, good question. So the thing with keywords is put yourself in the shoes of the searcher and focus on what the searcher is going to be using to find you. In the terms of civil engineering, I must admit it's not an area that I'm too knowledgeable about, but if it was going to go into marketing, Think about the projects that you want to be associated with that you've done. It could be event planning, it could be SEO, it could be brand management, it could be social media. So right away then, as a digital marketing specialist, I've just named you about 4 sub-branches that are digital marketing focused, but completely different keywords that are all scattered throughout my profile. So like I said, take time, think about everything connected to your niche, whether it be key tools. So I know how to use Google Search Console, Adobe Photoshop, and other tools like that. And you better believe that those keywords are in my profile because we're linked back to digital marketing. So do the same with you. If you're really struggling, there's keyword planner tools. Google offers a free keyword tool. Ahrefs offers a free keyword tool, and so do a few other digital marketing agents. So if you're really struggling, have a Google search for Google Keyword Planner, put in civil engineering, and it'll generate to you all the similar keyword terms that people search for to find civil engineering. And then you can use that as a platform to fill out your profile. But make sure they're relevant, like I said. Don't try and keyword stuff in there. Make your profile. You should always create your profile first and foremost with providing an excellent user experience of whoever's looking at it. Your keywords bring the user to the profile. So focus on content first and make sure your keywords look like they should be there organically. Don't try and just splatter them scattergun to get people there. But finding keywords, yeah, Google Keyword Planner is a good start. But better than that, just think about what people would actually search for if they wanted to find your profile right now and you wanted to appear in those searches, and that'll give you the best results.
All right, well, thank you for that answer. I think that is all the time that we have for the questions today. So if anybody has any further questions, you can feel free to reach out to John, as he so generously provided his LinkedIn profile and as well as his email address. So you can reach out to him. You can also reach out to us at hello@virtualinternships.com. Thank you again so much, John, for sharing all of your advice with us. And thank you to everyone who joined us today. Look out for the next invitation to our upcoming Global Employability Expert Series in another couple of weeks. So thank you.
Thank you. It was my pleasure. It was a lot of fun.